Greetings, Kooplings. What's up? Donnie Reese here from PSVG, the Nintendo Shack and the Xbox Empire, with my review for PGA Tour 2K21. But before we get into breaking it all down and talking about the golf game itself, first let me say thank you to 2K and HB Studios for providing me an early access and review copy to PGA Tour 2K21 and the opportunity to review the game. Big shocking news out of the way up front, right? I love golf games. I always have. And a lot of people know that from listening to the many podcasts that we've put out over the last few years. I'll just go ahead and tell you this now. If you just want to know what you want to know, before you buy the game, PGA Tour 2K21 is the best golf game that's been available this generation. And I should know. I've played 250 hours of Mario Golf. I've played Everybody's Golf. Played Power Star Golf. I've played the original Golf Club and every iteration that came out since then. I played the debacle that was Roy McIlroy's PGA Tour. All the Tiger Woods games that came before it on Wii, on Xbox, and different platforms. Every indie game that I can find. I've played golf. I've played The Golf, The Incredible Golf Story. And for those of you that also know me, I play Golftopia on Steam and Tea Time Golf on Steam, and I've streamed those games. I love golf games. I really do. I always have. So when the news came out that 2K21 was going to do, or that the golf club was going to do 2K21, that they got a full PGA license, I was very, very excited. And I reached out to 2K almost instantly, I believe actually the day that they announced it. And I said, look, I'd love to review this game for you guys. I have a passion for golf games. I have a Golden Tee arcade cabinet here in my basement. And I'm just really, really thankful that they gave me the chance. So we've got a lot to talk about. I hope that my full review gives you all the answers and comprehensions that you guys need to know. If you have specific questions, go ahead and ask them in the chat, and I will get to them as fast as I can, including, Josh, your question about a career mode. I will absolutely answer that one for you. But for those of you that have not been in the know and have never played the golf club or don't have no idea what I'm talking about, the golf club was a game that came out, I think, in 2016, maybe 15. I should fact check it. This is like the fourth one of these games that HB Studios have done, and it started out as a very strong simulation golf game. Unlike the Tiger Woods games, where they're very arcadey and you could adjust the spin of the ball in flight and see all the lines on the green. You'd shoot 20, 30 under par in a round. This was very, very simulation realistic, and a lot of people, myself included, thought the first one may have went too far. It was very, very difficult. Not just because golf itself is difficult, but I think the video game aspect of it, I contended when it first released, it was too difficult. Especially putting and approach shots. Anytime you needed like real finesse, it was very, very difficult. Now, the actual swinging mechanics and things were great, and I was actually really excited that they brought that here. Last year's the golf club 2019 featuring the PGA Tour was the first time that they got a license, and we actually started seeing licensed real courses. So they had 6 TPC courses, and they actually had some sponsored content, things like that, and it started to make it feel real. And you guys may have seen us stream it. I streamed it with Takeda and Eggshin. We've played a few times, and I really like that game. You could tell that they were onto something, and that's why I was even more excited for this one, was because it seemed like they were on the right path. And the easiest way to sum up PGA 2K21 is, if you remember the Tiger Woods games of the late 2000s and the early 2010s, this is kind of the golf club meets the Tiger Woods games kind of right in the middle. And I think I can best talk about that by answering John's question, who wrote to me earlier today. He said, I want to know the control, the sticks. How does everything feel sensitivity wise? I want a difficult golf game, not something I can shoot 10 under on every course. Okay. So I played this game. There are over 30 tournaments in the career mode and like the PGA Tour mode, and I played 25 of them or so, I believe. I've played almost all of them, and I also played a lot of single player, and I played the few society matches I could get in. So I've played a lot of this game since my review copy unlocked on Saturday. Tons of hours. I've played a lot of it. And I played on the normal difficulty going in, which is I think it's Pro-Am. So the normal difficulty I went in, and it does add a lot of features to the game that has never been there before. Most notably, you now have a swing meter. So it's a lot easier to judge distance control, which is something the golf club sorely lacked. If you were ever in between clubs, you were really kind of screwed if you needed to hit 85% of a shot versus, a full swing. Now, if you've played Mario Golf, or you've played really any golf game, actually, for that matter, every golf game like since the late 90s have had a power meter, the thing at the bottom where you could judge how hard your swing, how far the ball will go. So that's added to this game, and you can customize it. So that's one. The second part of the game that's really changed is putting. You now have the ability to do a putt preview on the green. So as you're reading the green, you have grid lines and you have your power meter. You can actually aim your spot, and then you can hold the A button, and a line will draw based on where you are going to hit the ball. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, John. That makes the game maybe makes the game too easy, because my first round I was pretty good. It was something that I was comfortable with, something I was accustomed to. So I think I shot 3 or 4 under my first round. But after, I don't know, 5 or 6 rounds, I was easily getting to 10, 12, 13, 14 under par per game. The beauty of this game is that all of that is extremely customizable, down to the nth tee. So you can have that golf game if you want just by simply going up to the pro difficulty, which I did. So I won 10 tournaments on the tour, and I think in maybe 12 tries. I didn't win them all. You still have to execute even if you have the buff. So it's still not it's not Tiger. Don't get that impression. It's not Tiger Woods. It's different. But when I turned them off, especially the putt preview, when I turned the putt preview off, my scores that were ones 12 under dropped to 4 or 5. I was doing great if I could get to 5 under, because there's a lot of finesse. It's very, very acute in your measurement on the greens. And like I said, you still have to execute the putt. Even if you see the line and it's going well, it'll go in. You still have to execute it correctly. So it's really interesting when you play up that level. So that's first and foremost with the new buffs and the new improvements to the measurement tools and the meters. That's how it kind of changes the gameplay. I think a lot of fans from Tiger Woods will absolutely take to this right out of the gate, and then those that loved the golf club for the simulation that it provided, I think they can turn that on, right? They have the ability to go tweak that as you want. And when I say you can customize it to the nth degree, I absolutely mean it. You can control how many of those putt previews you get. You can control how much forgiveness you want to have on the swing meter, on the downswing of the swing meter, and you can just go to your heart's content with it. And so that's really, really nice to know. And one of the things I'll talk about here in a bit will be societies and the online clubs, and I think that'll come into fold quite a bit. So I want to get into the new additions for 2K21, and I'm going to check on the chat here. Hey, Vega Buster, I have the Xbox version, but I'm also buying the Switch version. It's not available for pre-purchase here in the States yet. It'll go live tonight, but I'll talk about that at the end of the review. New additions for 2K21. So this year you've got 15 licensed TPC courses added on, and that's addition to East Lake and stuff like that. So there are a lot more courses. A lot of them, you'll definitely see a lot of the same ones. You've got the Faxon course and the other stuff that they had from the previous games, but there's a lot of new ones. But I'd be really remiss if I didn't talk about the visual upgrade that PGA Tour 2K21 has over the golf club from the get-go. So PGA Tour 2K21 is in full 4K. And you will immediately see, if you've ever played the golf club or if you played last year's the golf club, you will see an immediate difference visually just right off the get. I mean, the courses look beautiful. The nature is nice. The lighting is really bright and vibrant, much more so than it was in the past. The golfers look great. That doesn't mean everything looks great, though. There's still, the crowd, for example, they kind of just look faded off kind of meeples standing on the side, right? Anything that's really in the periphery, it's not that it looks bad. It's definitely not jagged. It's not edgy like PGA, like last year, the Golf Club 2019 was. I think even in one of our streams, I even mentioned it. Like if you were to focus on a lot of the foliage and stuff of last year's game, you could tell it was edgy. It doesn't look bad, but like you were like, I even think I said like, imagine what this could be. And that's really what this is. This is what it could be. It looks so much better. It's so much improved. And really, all that stuff that's in the periphery, like the crowds and the buildings and stuff, you ain't looking at that anyway. It's not the focus of the game. You're focused on your golfer, you're focused on the fairway, the green, the rough, the trees, nature, right? So that's not even a problem. So, I mean, it looks fantastic. You also have a ton more customization options to your golfer. So they've brought in even more licensed content. So you've got Callaway and you've got Adidas and you've got, all that stuff that's in there, and you can get hats and clubs and shorts and watches and belts and shoes. And you can pre-register up to 4 rounds for your outfit. So you can basically have like 4 outfits that you can swap. And the way they set that up is you basically say, this is going to be my day 1 outfit. It'll be my day 2, day 3, day 4. But it's weird because I didn't play 4-day tournaments on the career mode. I just played the 1. So I kept playing as the same one. So if you do that, if you just want to play 1 round for the tournament, then you actually have to manually swap them. And it's not super easy. It's not like something you get to choose to do before you play the round. You actually have to go into your player menu, clone the outfit from one day, bring it back to the other day. And then go back to the golf course and play again. But all of that stuff actually brings a lot of realism to the game, right? It feels like PGA Tour. So you can go out there, and if you want to rock Callaway gear and Callaway hats and tailor-made stuff, you've got all that. You can be a full sponsored golfer if you want to. So it's very, very nice. Vega Buster, nice. How are the microtransactions? That's a really good question. You can buy the stuff. Now the store wasn't open when I was reviewing it, so I didn't write down the prices and everything. And there, I should mention that there is a day 1 patch, I think a pretty big day 1 patch that's going to come out. So I'm not exactly sure how much that may or may not change, but the microtransactions is a good question, because when I first got into it, I was like, oh no, because everything is payable with in-game currency. But I want to put everybody's minds at ease. Once I started playing the career mode, I didn't have any issues with the microtransactions. You may have to play, like, as you get later on, I feel like you get less and less money. But, I mean, if you want a new set of clubs or you want a new shirt or something, you may have to play 1 or 2 rounds to get enough currency to do so. I think 4 at the most for the high price stuff. The high price stuff is like 1,000 coins. So I was roughly getting like 250 coins a round. So I don't think playing 4 rounds to unlock that item that you won is a big deal. One of the things that I really like about this game in regards to microtransactions, I never felt like any of the equipment or clothes were out of reach. They have a very nice balance of making sure that you gain access to the name brand stuff early on versus everything being reserved later. So it's like every company or clothing maker, every line of item, there's kind of like a lower price entry and a higher price option. So you don't have to feel like, oh, I've got to give them, $20 in microtransactions because I want to play with Callaway out of the gate. Like, you can get Callaway stuff right out of the gate. You can get that stuff quite a bit. Takeda, that's a good question. How's the announcing? That was actually the next thing. So the announcing team is made up of Luke Elvey and Rich Beam. I will go ahead and show how big of a golf nerd I am. I remember watching Rich Beam beat Tiger Woods at the PGA major back in the day. I've always been a big fan of Beamer, and it's much better, Takeda. It's 1,000 times better. I encountered several times during the career mode and during playing where the announcing was matching not only what I was doing, but also what was going on around me. And I'm going to save that a little bit for the career mode when I get into it. But I can tell you that it's much better. It's not the same, although you will run into repetitive statements for sure. Like, especially if you played as much as I did. If you play 25 tournaments in a week, you're going to hear the same thing more than once. So that's still there, but it's not as bad. The one thing that I didn't like about the announcing, because I do have some critiques. I've got several critiques that I'm going to share as well. I just didn't want to start my review that way because I really, really enjoy the game. But one of the critiques that I have is there are no name recognition on the announce team, which I feel like is a missed opportunity, because that's something that we've had kind of in video games. I know in wrestling games, they were doing that like in 2005. So they never call you by your name, and they don't have like a select list of names that you can pick from that they've, pre-recorded. They just call you the player. So you're like the player, they, them, he, It's just kind of that. And after a while, it's kind of weird because, they'll just talk about like the player is the best player on tour this year. And it's like, you could use a name, or at least a nickname or something, like maybe a nickname that you could put in, something a little more generic. But I really like the stuff that they've got in there. But touching back on the microtransactions, I wanted to talk about the clubs. The clubs are a fantastic addition to this game in a different way than I've seen golf games in the past. So golf games in the past typically gate progression by either like attributes like power, accuracy, putting, right? You level up skills, or by clubs, like you buy a certain brand of clubs and they're better and they level all that up. This game's clubs are extremely balanced, and I mean that the highest priced options and your beginner options all have merit. There really are no clubs that's better than the other club. They're all just different, and it's a matter of how much do you want to play. Like, do you want to give up distance for accuracy and control? Would you like to have, medium base? Would you add more control for less spin? Everything has a pro and a con. And I really like that about the game, because I feel like other games that do that with inventory, eventually people will find the magic combination. And then all of a sudden, if you don't play with that combination, all of a sudden you're at a disadvantage. This has none of that. So I really appreciate the fact that they did that. And honestly, literally, the beginner clubs are just as good as many other clubs. So you don't have to feel kind of like you have to buy the better ones. They're not going to necessarily help you that much. Now, the only time that I felt like I really gained an advantage was with the driver. There was a point I think I was about 10 rounds into the tour, especially when I made the tour. I was behind on distance because I've always played golf games more for control. So I was playing a driver that was shorter, and I was just too short. Like I kept having to hit 3 woods and 5 woods into greens, and like I couldn't compete that way. So I did have to give up a little control to get a driver, but it was also not out of the reach. It was like 400 coins, and I had plenty of it. So on the microtransaction, it's really, really good. So let's talk about the career mode. That's the big marketing part of this game, right? They keep showing, Justin Thomas and Ricky Fowler and all the folks that are out there. I've got a list. Let's see here. I'm going to pull them up. So Justin Thomas, Cameron Champ, Bryson DeChambeau, Matt Kuchar, Kevin Kistner, Gary Woodland, Billy Horschel, Ian Poulter, Tony Finau, Jim Furyk, Sergio Garcia, and Patrick Cantlay is the group or so. So 12. Yeah, it's a dozen golfers that are in the game that you can actually see. I have an issue with kind of the golfers, but just hang on to that for a minute. The PGA Tour career mode is really, really cool. So you start off as an amateur. You start off on the Korn Ferry Tour, and you actually have to qualify for the PGA Tour. So you either have to win a certain amount of events, or you have to finish in the money list for the season. You have to win 3 events, and I got the 3 events right out of the gate, and I think it took me 3, maybe 4 or 5 to get my 3 wins, and then you graduate to the PGA Tour. Now, I do have probably my biggest criticism with the game so far is with all the marketing that they've shown, and you see I grabbed some commercials and stuff and I put them behind me here in this video review. They're showcasing Justin Thomas and Bryson DeChambeau and Jim Furyk and stuff. You don't actually play against them, which I think is I think it's a bit misleading. Based on all the coverage that I followed in the marketing, I definitely could imagine fans of the Tiger Woods series wanting to go play either against the pros or play as the pros, and you can do neither. And I think that's a bit of a miss, just on the marketing side. Like, I don't mind it. It didn't bother me, but I could see a lot of people excited to play as Justin Thomas. He's a popular golfer, and you can't. So you can't play as them. You can only play as your player. And then when you play against them, like what they're showing now, like where you play against them, you don't play against them like in a one-on-one match like Tiger Woods did. What you do is you play the tournament just by yourself, and then your stats get compared to their stats, and you have to beat them in so many categories. It's not even just beat them. Like, you don't have to have a better score than them. You literally have to hit more fairways than them, or, putt less distance than them. And you can kind of have these rivalries over 3 or 4 rounds where you beat them as the rival. And to be honest with you, I didn't find it all that compelling at all. Like once I noticed what it was, I was a bit let down. And I really don't care. Like it's not golf, right? Nobody really. I mean, I know players do. I know stats are important, like they track them, but players don't care if they're out driving the other player or hitting more fairways than the other player if they're beating the player. Like ultimately, you want to win. Like that's the most important part, is actually winning. So you would have these weird things where it's like, you're in a rivalry with Sergio Garcia, and it's like, well, I've won 12 times this year on tour and he hasn't won at all. It's not like really a rivalry. And just from the marketing, right? From what you're seeing here playing behind me, when they show those golfers actually golfing, I was expecting a one-on-one match where I hit my shot, they hit their shot. It was like a match play, kind of like a, and there would be some cinematics and stuff built up around that. And there's not. But that's not to say that there's nothing. What they have done this year that has been sorely lacking in this franchise basically since the beginning is they've implemented an instant replay system that's really, really nice. And it's got full production value, right? So as you're playing on tour in the career mode, in between holes, as you're playing, or even in between shots, the announcers will cut to a different hole, and you will see a golfer like, Justin Thomas hitting an approach shot or draining a putt, and then they'll show you where they are in the leaderboard versus you. So I guess it does come off like you're kind of playing, you're playing with them in the same tournament, but you're not actually mano a mano playing against them, seeing all the shots. So, but it is nice. The instant replay is great. The production value overall, I think the biggest change to the game outside of just the 4K visual upgrades is the production value to the entire game. The organization, the menus, the options, all of that is completely redone. The UI as you're playing the game, your HUD on screen, and all of the visual appeal of the menus and all that, it's all been redone. It's much, much, much better. So I really like that quite a bit. Let's see here. I'm going to check in on the chat. Ooh. Josh, I'm gonna touch on that Switch version here in a little bit. The second part of the game is that I think fans of the golf club will immediately notice. So I'm talking to you, Takeda, BMox, Eggshin. I'm talking to you guys. The swing is much faster. They've implemented it's the same. So you have like the accuracy approach. To not only to distance, but also, accuracy on your downswing. So they time you basically on how you transition from the backswing to the downswing, as well as impact. And this year to do it, you have to swing the stick much faster, which I think is a great improvement. I love it, by the way. I think it's fantastic because before I think you could kind of cheese the system by swinging slower, and you wouldn't be penalized for swinging slower to be more accurate. This year you will be. When I first started, I was spraying stuff all the way all the way right, because when you swing slow, you basically leave the face open at impact, which is true. It's true to golf. It feels realistic. So I kept just slicing everything. And it wasn't until I got up with the tempo that you realize you have to swing faster, which is a lot of fun because one, it makes the game feel more competitive. At the same time, I think it will open you up to throwing shots, out of the way because you have to swing faster. So it makes you have to play better. On the normal difficulty, I didn't really have an issue with it. Once I got in kind of in the groove of the tempo, I didn't have a problem. On the pro difficulty, especially when I turned down the swing, buffs, definitely did. It was a little bit more touchy. And one of the things I do like about this game is when you do hit a bad shot, like the announcers let you know, as well as the golfer model on screen. So if you just snap hook one, your golfer, like Tiger, will just throw the club or just hold it with one hand, so you can tell that you hit something that's bad. So it's really, really good. And that's a definite change from the first one to the second one. It's just the entire swing overall is much faster. And you feel it from longer clubs to shorter clubs too. Like I felt like when I was swinging wedges, I had to swing even faster because they were shorter clubs versus a driver. So if you try to keep the same tempo, it won't work. You actually even have to maybe change the tempo from club to club. But don't get discouraged on the regular difficulty. It's fine. So those are real good. Let's see here. Let me check some more notes. I put this down too. It's extremely important, maybe in this game more so than in the other games that I've encountered, that you read the green on your approach and chip shots, especially in your approach shots. several times when I was first starting the game, like there were several times I could not hold the green, even with like 8 and 9 irons, with full spin and stuff. Like if you landed on a downslope, like it really feels like you're landing it on a downslope. So you really got to pay attention to the green and where you're bringing your approach shot in and accounting for roll and that stuff, which again makes it feel like the simulation golf game that it's supposed to be. There's no HDR. That was another kind of critique that I had for it. I did ask if they were implementing HDR, and they didn't get back to me in time for me to record this, but so far I haven't encountered any HDR notices on my TV or any customization for any of that in the game itself. I've been talking for 28 minutes straight. I'm going to take a drink here. That Ninja Dev asks, for someone who's not big into golf and didn't know much about the sport, does the game have a good tutorial on clubs and when to use them? It does. It has a full training mode that you get right out of the gate. You can choose to skip it if you don't want to, but I played it, obviously, and I would encourage everybody to do so. And it shows you how to hit shots and then how to shape shots from left to right, from right to left, how to hit approach shots, different flop shots. They do have a splash shot, Takeda, which I'm not sure. I feel like that's new. I don't remember. I did boot up the last one and played around just to kind of get my bearings, but that just came to me. I'm not sure if they had a splash shot. So you've had chip, right? You've got flop, but this is a splash shot actually out of bunkers where you can, it just feels a little bit more real and the animation comes off a little bit more real. It doesn't feel like you're chipping out of a bunker. It feels like you're actually playing a bunker shot, and that's real nice. But yeah, they've got a full training mode for you, Dev, so they can walk you through it. Okay. So I'm really, really excited to talk about the next thing. I just want to make sure. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. The other criticism that I had, kind of pinging off of not being able to play against the pros themselves, is I think I'm a little let down with the lack of licensed content. Only because of the rebrand, right? It's 2K, PGA Tour 2K. It kind of feels like, they're trying to make a claim for being the PGA game like Tiger used to be. And it's cool that they've got the TPC courses, but it's not a full schedule, right? You're not playing the Masters, you're not playing the US Open, you don't play the PGA Championship. And I feel like that's a letdown, like a lot. And I realize the Masters, I get that one because they're super hard, but if you have the PGA license, you would imagine that you could play the US Open at Pebble Beach or at Bethpage Black or something like that. The British Open at St. Andrews. None of that's there. So you find a lot of wannabe courses, or that may sound harsher than it needs to, but clones, names that obviously you're trying to be what they are, but not so much that you feel the same. So there's a lot of that, and you only have the golfers. And by the way, the golfers aren't mocapped, so they all kind of they look different. So that's not a big deal. And this really isn't a big deal at all, but Jim Furyk, for example, he has a crazy swing, right? And I watched him in one of the cutscenes and he swung kind of like everybody else swings. And so they're not really mocapped either. And I think if you bought this game last year and then you saw the rebrand and 2K and all that, I think it's reasonable to expect that you would come in expecting more kind of like what Tiger used to bring in terms of licensed content. And it's not here. So, it's not that it's bad. There's still 20 real courses and stuff like that. And you still have the course builder and all that. So we're going to get that stuff anyway from users. But I think it was worth pointing out in review. Now, I'm real excited to talk about this. Let me go ahead and pull it up. You guys will see it here on the screen. And that is the PSVG Golf Club Society, which I have created and is live. So when you buy the game this week and this weekend, you want to come play, we have a society. And societies are cool. They're online clubs. And ours is private, and you can search for it just by typing in PSVG, and you can request to join. And this is cool because if I bring up the next slide, you will see that you have the ability to set up tournaments. So I have already set up the PSVG Welcome Wagon Open, which will be live this weekend. And I'm very excited for these tournaments because they're very fun. Basically, you can set a tournament for a duration of time. So I think I've already set up our first months of tournament, and they start on Wednesday and they close on Sunday. So anytime from Wednesday to the Sunday, you can log in, join the society, and post your round for that tournament. I'm very excited and hoping to get a weekly session where we actually play together. So maybe on Fridays or Saturdays or something like that. But even if you can't make those, you still have other days where you can post your round. So I love this, and you can customize your welcome message, your daily message. You can customize the courses you're playing on, the difficulty that they're playing on. I kept it pretty reasonable out of the gate. I think everything's set to normal. I think we get 18 putt previews, so you get one per hole. So it's pretty easy out of the gate. I didn't ramp up the difficulty. At some point, I think I will. I don't want to make it like super hard, but I was trying to think if there was a way to still keep the simulation aspects of the game, but tone down some of the putting buffs, especially the previews. Like, I don't mind the putt preview if you're like 50 feet away. I think that makes sense. But if you're closer, I kind of wish it was off. I wish I could set it by distance from the hole, because like lag putting, if you're putting 170, 80, 50 feet away, that putt preview comes in handy, because sometimes you can't see the hole based on the undulation of the green. So I think it's helpful. But if you're like 15 feet away, I don't think you should have the putt preview. I think you should be required to read the green and make it. And I feel like that's a really kind of compromise on having both that I wish I could deploy, but you can't. So all you can do is control how many you have. So I think going forward, we'll maybe cut down the putt previews, I don't know, to like 5 or 6. So still let people have them, but you have to choose when to use them, and then, play the rest of the round. But other than that, it's pretty nice. Drew, thanks for the question. It does not have cross-play yet. They were very clear. Doesn't have cross-play at all. I am buying the Switch version. One of the things I want to say about the Switch version, so they posted an update, I think yesterday. The Switch version will include the course editor, which is a huge part of this game. Maybe the biggest part of this game actually has nothing to do with the golfers of the PGA Tour license, is the course editor, because the golf club has a tremendous community, and they will make Augusta National, and they will make Pebble Beach, and they'll make St. Andrews. They will make all the courses that we don't have. They'll user create them. So crossplay, I hope, comes later. But the Switch version, this game, even in 4K on Xbox, is only 6 gigs. So I have some hope that the Switch version looks pretty good. I'm actually hoping that it's 1080p and it looks good. Maybe some load times, but overall, the quality of the game is still there. I hope. I know we've been burned by Switch ports before. I have not seen specific Switch gameplay. I saw some screenshots are listed on the eShop, but we've seen those kind of, not be the best sample of the game as well. So I'm not going to go too far on those. I am buying both, though. I will be buying PGA 2K21 tomorrow on Nintendo Switch. It's still not live yet. I was hoping to pre-buy it, and it's still not live, but I will be buying it tomorrow. PGA Tour 2K21 on Xbox and PlayStation 4 digitally are $60, but you can already get them for $50 from like Amazon and Best Buy, I think GameStop. And then PGA Tour 2K21 physically doesn't release until September, so you're stuck at the digital price of $60. But these societies are really cool, but unfortunately, Drew, most of us are going to be playing on Xbox. Now, if we have enough people that want to do a society, I will do 2 societies a week. That's not a problem. I can play 2 rounds, and I'll play on Switch too. But if not, maybe we can just set up, a Let's Play or something, a stream, and we'll just play at the same time. But I'm very excited. Our Mario Golf stuff really took off. We did Mario Golf, I think, for like 6 months every week, and I'm hoping that this becomes the next thing, is that this becomes the next Mario Golf for us. So, and I don't know, maybe we'll come to Game Pass, Drew, and you can play it on your phone or tablet through streaming. That's also possible. Let's see here. The course editor, I did edit a course just out of curiosity for the review. I've never created a course before. We have a course. You see, it's the second one on there, the PSVG Royal Golf Club. The course editor is great. For something so big, they bring you a lot of customization that you can do pretty well with a controller. So the course editor is, here's basically how it works. You basically set the terrain that you want. So do you want a links course? Do you want a forest course? Do you want a beach course? That type of thing. And you can kind of like set the weather and you can set the holes, and then you hit go, and it basically randomly generates you a course that then you can then edit. So you can add shrubbery and bunkers, and like you've got to go through all the menus to pick out what you want. You can change the level of the ground and all of that type of stuff. And you can kind of clone it out from there. And it's pretty, for something that works on a console, it's highly customizable. I imagine it's much, much easier to do on a PC with a mouse, but for something that they let you do with a controller, it's really, really good. One other critique that I had with the course editor, though, and this has been an issue with this series for years, so I'm a little upset they still haven't fixed it. I published the course, and then I made some changes to it, and I saved it. And then when I saved it, it told me these save, like your data is saved, but players won't see it until you republish it. So I published it again. And then when I went to my published courses, I unfortunately saw that I had basically published 2 of the same course, and they're labeled and named the same. I was like, oh no, like that, you can't delete them. There's no way to make them inactive or save over them. Like, you just can't. And I asked them, and they haven't responded back to me. And then I did some looking up and some digging on Steam and some forums, and this has been an issue ever since the course creator. They don't have a way for you to take it off, take it down, make it inactive, make it not viewable. And I think that's, especially considering that's become such a focus of this game and its offering, I think it's a little let down. So I'm gonna close up my review here. I did not realize that I might talk about this game for 38 minutes, but yeah, I mean, I told you I love golf games, so I wanted to bring you all of my comprehensive thoughts here. I think the game, like I said, I think it's the best golf game we've had this generation. I feel like that's pretty much set in stone. It's way better. And if you like Tiger Woods golf games in the past, I think you'll find this out from, as it is normally out of the box, you'll find a lot here that as well as a bunch of stuff that you can take advantage of that you didn't have before. I think it has its faults. I think they're minor. I've already told you those. So since it is a review, and I know scores matter to folks, if you're asking me to score it, I'd give this game an 8. I think it's a great game. I think it's the best golf game we've had this generation. I think it's going to be fun for everybody. I do think if you bought PGA Tour 19, the golf club PGA Tour 19, I came into it hoping a little bit more. It's a lot of the same, but better, right? It's a lot of the same content, but it looks prettier. It's easier to use. It's faster. That's kind of where this game sits. And I hope that this sets the platform and the base for future. I hope that's what we're getting here. I hope that they build off of this. They had more golfers, more match modes, let you actually play against the golfers. When it comes to PGA Tour stuff, like I love the match play events. I would love to see them add the Ryder Cup or the President's Cup, or at least have some match play, World Golf Championships or something, and then have match plays actually against the other golfers. So that's really, really cool. So that is my full review on PGA Tour 2K21. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out in the chat and asking us questions. I was real excited to do this, and the reason that we chose to do it this way is we just released Xbox Empire this morning. We will release Nintendo Shack tomorrow, so I was kind of in between podcasts. I didn't want to just bury one of our podcasts with a review, but I also know that folks, they know us for podcasting. They know us for listening. So I thought, let's do the live stream. I'll be out day and date with the embargo, with the review. Everybody can know what I think before you buy the game. And then we'll release this actually as a podcast. I don't know, maybe tomorrow night or Saturday morning or something, and get it out to the rest of our listeners that don't always follow us over here on Twitch. But I see the chat and I see everybody's here, and I'm so thankful that all of you guys showed up. And I hope you enjoyed my review of the game. And if there are no other questions, I'll go ahead and close the stream. Hey, Brendan, thanks for checking out the stream. And I'm very excited for the Switch version. Like I said, cannot wait to download that. And I'll have my full review impressions for that as an add-on to this. And next week's Nintendo Shack. I said it doesn't come out tomorrow, so it won't be in time to make tonight's show. But next week I'll definitely be talking about it. And considering the file size for the game in 4K, I have a lot of faith that I think they can pull it off. I think it sets up ripe to be a good port. They're already like transitions and stuff, so maybe that can mask the load times. So I think that'll be great. And then, obviously it's not gonna do 4K, but I mean, if you cut it to 1080p docked, 720p, portably, and it is a golf game, so like the nature, the resolution may not be there, but it should still look pretty. Breath of the Wild looks pretty, and it doesn't have like realistic textures. So I'd imagine it should still be really, really good, or at least that's my hope. That's when I'm coming into it. If it's not, we'll talk about it, and hopefully they can patch it up in months to come. But I have no doubt in my mind, even if, let's say, it looks fuzzy, let's say it looks like Doom or one of those ports. I don't think it will, but if it does, still, this is the best golf game on Switch by far. I mean, what are you gonna play? You're gonna play the golf? I played the golf. It's not good. or the new indie game that just came out and just called Golf. This is a fantastic golf game, and it has so much to offer, and the course creator gives you so much that you can play like indefinitely when it comes to courses and things like that. And the only thing with Switch, I guess it would matter, is online matchmaking. Hopefully we can still play together. That would be a part of it, but I imagine that'll be there. Yeah, I don't think that's too hard. So I'm very excited for the Switch version. I'll let you guys know about those next week. And without further ado, that'll conclude my review of PGA Tour 2K21. One more time, I want to say thanks to 2K Games and HB Studios. We don't have the biggest outlet in terms of fans and whatnot, but I reached out to them. I told them, I love golf games, and I showed them our reviews that we did for Golftopia and our interviews and things we've done for other golf games. And I think they were excited because the guy I was working with from 2K, he was like, absolutely. So I was really excited to get this one, and it was a lot of fun for me. So 38 minutes, 40 minutes into a review. For those of you stuck around, I really appreciate it, but that'll do it for me. Signing off.